the television courtroom had never witnessed such pure, unfiltered disrespect towards someone who had sacrificed everything for their country. Vanessa Mercer, a 48-year-old real estate agent who drove a white BMW with vanity plates and wore designer suits like armor, sat in Judge Eleanor Hart's courtroom with the kind of smug confidence that could only come from years of bulldozing clients without consequence. Across from her sat Robert Hayes, a 67-year-old retired Marine Corps veteran whose weathered hands trembled slightly as he clutched a folder containing his late wife's photographs and property documents. What happened in the next 3 minutes would become the most viral courtroom moment in internet history, shared over 120 million times across every social media platform imaginable, with the Respect Our Veterans trending for 6 consecutive days. But here's what makes this story absolutely insane. Vanessa didn't just lose her case. She didn't just get embarrassed on national television. What Judge Eleanor did to her in those 3 minutes was so devastatingly brutal, so righteously furious, that it ended Vanessa's entire real estate career and made her the most hated woman in America overnight. Before we show you the exact moment when Vanessa mocked a decorated war veteran to his face and triggered Judge Eleanor's most legendary takedown ever captured on camera, make sure you hit that like button if you support our veterans and believe that people who disrespect them deserve real consequences. Subscribe so you never miss these explosive courtroom moments where entitled bullies finally meet someone who won't tolerate their behavior. Trust me, what you're about to witness will restore your faith in justice and prove that karma is not only real, but it has perfect timing. Now, let me take you inside the courtroom and show you exactly how this whole situation exploded. Robert Hayes had never wanted to be in a courtroom. After 24 years of service in the United States Marine Corps, including 2 tours in Vietnam and 1 in Desert Storm, he had earned a Purple Heart and a Bronze Star with valor. He had bled for his country, buried friends on foreign soil, and come home with nightmares that still woke him up 3 decades later. His wife, Evelyn, had been his anchor through all of it, the woman who held him during the dark nights and celebrated with him during the good days. When Evelyn passed away 8 months ago from cancer, Rob felt like half of his soul had been ripped away. The only thing left to do was sell the property Evelyn had inherited from her parents, a modest home in a quiet suburban neighborhood worth approximately $380,000. It was supposed to be simple closure, the final chapter in their love story, a way to honor Evelyn's memory by handling her affairs with the same integrity and discipline that had defined his military career. That's when Vanessa Mercer entered his life like a storm wrapped in Chanel perfume. She had promised premium service for a premium listing, flashed her credentials as a top-producing agent, and convinced Rob that his property would sell quickly under her expert guidance. Rob, who had been trained in the Marines to trust people at their word and honor contracts with absolute commitment, signed the paperwork, agreeing to a 6% commission. That meant Vanessa would receive $22,800 when the property was sold. What Rob didn't know was that he had just become Vanessa's latest victim in a pattern of predatory behavior targeting elderly clients who didn't know how to fight back against aggressive real estate tactics and legal intimidation. Vanessa Mercer had barely lifted a finger to earn that $22,000 commission. In the 3 months following the contract signing, she posted exactly 2 photographs of Rob's property on Facebook, missed 4 scheduled open houses without legitimate explanation, and ignored 17 phone calls and 11 emails from Rob asking for updates on the marketing strategy. When Rob finally managed to reach her by showing up at her office unannounced, Vanessa treated him like an annoying interruption to her busy schedule, barely looking up from her phone as she assured him that premium properties take time to sell and that he needed to be patient. But Rob wasn't stupid. He had started doing his own research, talking to other real estate agents in the area, and discovering that Vanessa's version of premium service was actually complete negligence that violated multiple professional standards. When he politely requested to terminate their contract so he could work with someone who would actually market his late wife's property, Vanessa's friendly facade disappeared completely and revealed the predator underneath. Vanessa didn't just refuse to terminate the contract. She demanded her full commission of $22, $800 plus an additional $8,000 in what she called marketing fees. Despite having done essentially zero actual marketing, she sent Rob a letter drafted by her attorney, full of legal language designed to intimidate someone living on a fixed military pension of $2,847 per month. The letter threatened litigation, warned about damage to his credit score, and made it clear that Vanessa Mercer always got paid regardless of whether she actually earned it. For Rob, this $30, zeros in demand wasn't just a financial catastrophe that would devastate his retirement savings. It was a fundamental betrayal of the trust and integrity that had defined his entire life. He had served his country honorably for 24 years, kept his word in every situation, and expected others to do the same. Vanessa Mercer represented everything he had fought against. Bullies who used power and intimidation to crush people who couldn't fight back. What made Vanessa truly dangerous wasn't just her negligence or her aggressive collection tactics. It was her complete lack of empathy, combined with an inflated sense of superiority that came from years of getting away with predatory behavior. At 48 years old, she had perfected the art of targeting vulnerable clients, particularly elderly homeowners dealing with grief, confusion, or financial stress. She knew exactly which clients would be too intimidated to fight back, too trusting to question her authority, or too overwhelmed by their circumstances to navigate the complaint process with the real estate board. Vanessa kept detailed files on her targets, noting their financial situations, their emotional vulnerabilities, and their likelihood of mounting an effective legal defense. She had faced 3 previous complaints with the state real estate board, but her expensive attorneys had managed to get each one dismissed or settled quietly before any formal sanctions could be imposed. Vanessa's confidence as she prepared for her appearance on Judge Eleanor was absolutely unshakable. She had spent 3 weeks gathering what she believed was an airtight case, printing legal articles from random internet websites, practicing her condescending explanations in front of her bathroom mirror, and selecting the perfect designer outfit that would project success and authority. She told her friends and colleagues that she was going to school this television judge on real estate law, that she would expose Rob Hayes as just another difficult client trying to avoid his contractual obligations, and that her appearance on national television would probably generate excellent publicity for her business. What Vanessa didn't know was that Judge Eleanor had already spotted 17 different lies in her initial paperwork before Vanessa even walked through the courtroom doors. And she was preparing to make an example out of this predatory real estate agent that would echo through television history forever. The Judge Eleanor courtroom buzzed with its usual electric energy as cameras rolled and the audience settled into their seats, expecting another routine small claims dispute to unfold before their eyes. Production assistants made their final checks while the bailiff took his position near the bench. And Judge Eleanor reviewed her notes one last time with the focused intensity that had made her a television legend. Nobody in that room had any idea they were about to witness a moment that would define courtroom television for an entire generation. Rob Hayes entered first, wearing a modest gray suit that had probably been purchased decades ago, with a small American flag pin attached to his lapel. His military bearing was still evident, despite his 67 years, shoulders back and spine straight as he took his position at the plaintiff's table. He clutched his folder of documents against his chest like a shield, visibly nervous, but maintaining the composure that had been drilled into him during 24 years of service. Vanessa Mercer strutted in moments later like she was walking a runway instead of entering a courtroom, her Chanel suit perfectly tailored and her Louis Vuitton briefcase swinging from her manicured hand. She didn't even glance at Rob as she passed him, treating him with the same dismissive indifference she had shown throughout their entire nightmare business relationship. Judge Eleanor opened the proceedings with her signature no-nonsense approach, her voice cutting through the courtroom air with surgical precision. She reviewed the basic facts of the case, noting that Rob was suing to recover damages after Vanessa had failed to market his property while demanding full commission plus additional fees. Rob's opening testimony was quiet and dignified, his voice cracking slightly with emotion as he explained that he was selling his late wife's property and that this was supposed to be a way of honoring her memory and finding some closure after 8 months of grief. He laid out Vanessa's negligence with specific dates and examples, showing the timeline of ignored phone calls, missed open houses, and broken promises. When he mentioned his military service, it was not with any sense of seeking special treatment or sympathy, but simply as context for his worldview and why keeping one's word mattered so deeply to him. In the Marines, we were taught that integrity means everything, he said quietly, his weathered hands smoothing down the papers in front of him. I signed a contract in good faith, and I expected the same in return. Vanessa's reaction to Rob's testimony was immediate and telling. She rolled her eyes so dramatically that the cameras caught every second of her contempt. She smirked when Rob's voice broke discussing his wife's death, as if his grief was some kind of performance designed to manipulate the court. Judge Eleanor noticed every gesture, every eye roll, every display of disrespect, and her expression began to harden into something that regular viewers recognized as the calm before a devastating storm. When Judge Eleanor finally gave Vanessa permission to present her side of the story, Vanessa didn't wait for the complete invitation before interrupting with her opening statement. Your Honor, this is a very simple case of buyer's remorse, she began, her voice dripping with condescension as she waved her hand dismissively toward Rob. Mr. Hayes signed a binding contract, and now he wants to back out because he doesn't like the reality of real estate timelines. Vanessa pulled out her folder of internet-printed legal articles with the flourish of someone who believed they were about to drop a devastating bombshell of legal expertise. She began lecturing Judge Eleanor about contract law, real estate commission structures, and industry standards, as if she were educating a child about basic concepts they couldn't possibly understand. Honestly, I don't see what his personal sob story has to do with contract law, Vanessa said, referring to Rob's mention of his wife's death with such casual cruelty that several audience members audibly gasped. This is a business transaction, and emotions don't change the legal obligations both parties agreed to when signatures went on that paperwork. Judge Eleanor's warnings look was unmistakable to everyone except Vanessa, who was too wrapped up in her own performance to notice that she was lighting fuses on bombs that would soon explode directly in her face. When Rob tried to respond to one of Vanessa's accusations, she actually talked over him, her voice rising to drown out his attempt to speak. "Please, I'm trying to explain reality here," she said with another exaggerated sigh that made her contempt for this elderly veteran crystal clear to everyone watching. Judge Eleanor's intervention was swift and sharp. "Miss Mercer, he is allowed to speak in this courtroom. You will wait your turn." Vanessa's response was to sigh again, louder this time, and mutter "fine, whatever" under her breath, like a petulant teenager being scolded by a parent she didn't respect. The tension in the courtroom was building towards something unprecedented, something that everyone could feel crackling in the air like electricity before a lightning strike.